What if everything Shanks has ever done was never for Luffy? What if it was all for himself? Okay, let's talk about the man, the myth, the absolute mystery. Shanks, the most beloved character in One Piece who, honestly, we know almost nothing about. Think about it. He gave Luffy his hat. He inspired him to become a pirate. He's considered one of the most powerful people alive. He makes world governments shake just by showing up. He ended the war at Marineford with a single sentence. And yet, in over 1,000 chapters, Oda has never once shown us what Shanks truly wants. Every other Yonko has a clear goal. Kaido wanted to die in the greatest war ever. Big Mom wanted her dream family. Whitebeard wanted to find a home. Blackbeard wants the One Piece and to rule the world. But Shanks, he just exists. He smiles. He drinks. He moves pieces on a board nobody else can even see. Today, we're pulling the curtain back. Because I think Shanks has been running the most dangerous long game in the entire story, and Luffy is right in the middle of it. Let's start with something that should bother you more than it does. Shanks is perfect. No, seriously, he's kind, he's respected, he's powerful. He's morally untouchable. Every character who meets him basically falls in love with him. Even his enemies respect him. In a story filled with morally grey characters, people with dark pasts, selfish goals, complicated motives, Shanks stands there like a golden statue. And that should feel wrong, because Oda doesn't write characters like that. He doesn't create people who are simply the good guy. Every major figure in One Piece hides something. Every smile in this story has a cost. So why is Shanks the exception? Ese not. Here's where it starts to get uncomfortable. During the Reverie arc, Shanks did something that shocked the entire fandom. He walked into Mariagua, the holy city of the world government, the place that pirates are supposed to despise, and he requested a meeting with the Gorosei. Not an attack, not a threat. A meeting. And they let him in. Tifibe Ilder's thyst authority on the planet sat across from a Yonko pirate and had a calm conversation. We don't know exactly what was said, but we know the topic. According to Oda's panel, a certain pirate. Now, most people assume he was talking about Blackbeard. But what if he wasn't? What if he was talking about Luffy? Think about that for a second. Shanks walks into the center of world power and starts negotiating over Luffy's fate, before Luffy is even close to the final war. Why? Why does Shanks care that much? And more importantly, why do the Gorosei listen? Because here's the part nobody talks about. The Gorosei don't negotiate with pirates. They eliminate threats. They've sanctioned the destruction of entire kingdoms. They have admirals. They have CPO. They have tools of annihilation. And yet, Shanks walks in, sits down, and they listen. That's not the relationship between an enemy and a government. That's something else entirely. What if Shanks has leverage? What if he knows something about the Void Century, about the ancient weapons, about the truth of the world that makes him untouchable? Or worse, what if they've been working together this whole time? Stay with me, because this one is going to shake you. In the most recent arcs, we learned that Shanks' crew somehow acquired the Gamu note from a world government convoy they stole Italiano. That's how Luffy accidentally ate it. But Oda recently revealed something earth-shattering. The Gomu no Mi isn't a real devil fruit name. It's actually the Hito no Mi model, Nika, a mythical Zoan that the world government has been hunting for 800 years. They called it the most dangerous fruit in the world. They erased its real name from history. The world government spent centuries trying to control it, and somehow, Shanks just happened to steal it from them. The crew of the most powerful Yonko somehow got their hands on the rarest fruit in existence during a routine cargo transfer. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. What if the fruit was given to Shanks? What if the plan was always for someone to eat it? And what if Shanks was supposed to control who? Because here's the timeline. Shanks meets young Luffy. Luffy accidentally eats the fruit before Shanks intends. Shanks loses his arm saving Luffy. He spends the next 12 years watching from a distance, not interfering, but always watching. Always knowing where Luffy is. Always being one step ahead. What if Shanks wasn't supposed to give Luffy the fruit? What if someone else was supposed to eat it, and Luffy eating it changed everything? Part 4. The waiting game. Here's another thing that doesn't add up. Shanks waits. He always waits. When the world is at war at Marineford, when Ace is about to be executed, when Whitebeard is dying, when the Marine fleet is destroying everything Shanks arrive, right at the end. Not to fight, not to save anyone. Stop Italiano. He lets Ace die. He lets Whitebeard die. He only shows up when the war has served its purpose. And what purpose did that war serve? It traumatized Luffy so deeply that he had to restart. It removed two of the most powerful people who could have guided Luffy, Whitebeard and Ace. It reshuffled the entire balance of power in the world. Luffy came out of Marineford broken, alone, and starting over from zero. And Shanks didn't stop any of it. Compare that to Roger, Goldie Roger, the Pirate King, Shanks' own captain. Roger found the One Piece, learned the truth of the world, and then surrendered himself to be executed. Not because he gave up, but because he wanted to spark a new era. He wanted someone else to carry the torch. What if Shanks is doing the same thing? Not following Luffy, not guiding him, but engineering the exact conditions under which Luffy becomes the man who can reach Laugh Tale? What if every tragedy in Luffy's life, East Blue, Marineford, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, happened because Shanks needed Luffy to be forged in fire? Part 5. Shanks knows the truth. One more piece before the twist. Roger and Shanks. This is the connection people sleep on. Shanks was a cabin boy on Roger's crew. He was there at Laugh Tale. He heard, or at least was close to, the truth of the Void Century, the ancient weapons, and the will of D. He knows what the One Piece actually is, and he's never told anyone. He had a conversation with Whitebeard where he said the time was coming, that the one who would find the One Piece would be someone who carried the will of the D's, someone who would drag the world into an era of chaos. He said this like it was a warning, not a celebration. What if Shanks doesn't want the One Piece to be found? Or, more precisely, what if he wants to control who finds it and what they do with it? That the void of Ruth, whatever it is clearly dangerous enough that the world government spent 800 years erasing it. Dangerous enough that Roger cried when he learned it. Dangerous enough that Odin died trying to share it. Shanks knows that truth, and he's been silent. Is that the silence of someone at peace with it? Or the silence of someone managing it? Okay, here's where we go full theory. What if Shanks is the final obstacle? Not a villain, not evil, but the last wall standing between Luffy and the end of his journey. Think about how Oda structures growth in One Piece. Luffy doesn't just beat enemies, he overcomes people who represent something he has to surpass. Crocodile taught him that strength alone isn't enough. Luffy lost to him twice. Doflamingo showed him that cruelty has layers. Katakuri showed him his limits. Kaido shattered him completely. Every step up Luffy faces someone who breaks his current ceiling. And then he smashes through it. But here's the crazy part. Luffy hasn't faced anyone who loves him. Not Reaji. Not someone who loves him, shaped him, and still stands in his way. Someone who could look him in the eyes and say, I can't let you do this. Luffy, not because I'm your enemy, but because I know what's on the other side, and it'll destroy you. That's Shanks. Shanks knows what the One Piece means. He knows what Luffy inheriting the will of D truly costs. And if Shanks has been guiding Luffy this whole time, engineering his journey, removing obstacles, making sure Luffy survives long enough to reach the final stage. Then at some point, Shanks has to decide, do I let him finish? Or do I become the last test? Imagine the scene. Luffy, finally close to Laugh Tale. Shanks, standing in his way. Not attacking, just standing there. The same way he stood in front of the Sea King on that beach in Fuchsia Village. The day he lost his arm, calm, unblinking, ready. And Luffy looks at him, the man who started all of this, and says something that breaks both of them. That's the confrontation One Piece has been building towards since Chapter 1. Not Blackbeard. Not him. Not the Marines. Shanks. Because the most powerful test isn't from your enemy. It's from the person you love most, who believes in something different from you and means it with everything they have. And here's my final prediction. Shanks won't lose that fight because he's weaker. He'll step aside because of what Luffy shows him. Because stubborn, ridiculous, impossible. Luffy will prove to Shanks that he's not just ready to find the One Piece. He's ready for what? Comes after. That had exchange? At the beginning of the story? Return it to me when you become a great pirate. That's not just a promise. That's a test with a 1200 chapter setup. And when Luffy hands that hat back, that's when the story ends. So let me ask you this. Is Shanks protecting the world? Or is he controlling it? Is he the guardian of a truth too dangerous to be free? Or is he the last door Luffy has to walk through before he becomes something the world has never seen? I don't think Shanks is a villain, but I don't think he's innocent either. He's something rarer. Something One Piece does better than almost any other story. He's a man who loves someone so deeply that he's willing to become their enemy to make them great. That's the theory. That's the plan. That's Shanks. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think Shanks is actually hiding? Is he working with the world government? Is he the final boss? Or is there something even bigger we're missing? Drop your theory in the comments. Let's figure this out together. And if this video hit different, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.